What I remember mostly
Yes.
is the moments. You know, did I hit that moment? What was that moment? Was there a fight sequence there? Oh, yeah, I remember falling asleep on the...
Every television series has its share of funny mistakes, but very few productions have seen those mistakes become part of entertainment history. Star Trek is one of those rare exceptions. For decades, fans have admired the franchise for its groundbreaking stories, unforgettable characters, and vision of the future. Yet behind the polished adventures of the Enterprise was a production that constantly battled technical failures, unexpected accidents, and moments of complete chaos. In fact, there were days when filming became almost impossible, not because of the script, but because everything that could go wrong seemed determined to do exactly that. When viewers watched Captain Kirk confidently command the Enterprise or saw Spock calmly solve impossible problems, they never imagined what was happening only minutes before those cameras started rolling. Sets broke without warning. Expensive props suddenly stopped working, actors forgot dialogue, and complicated makeup occasionally fell apart in the middle of important scenes. Instead of creating frustration, though, many of these disasters ended up producing the funniest and most unforgettable memories in Star Trek history. Producing a science fiction television series during the 1960s was an enormous challenge. Unlike modern productions that rely heavily on digital effects, nearly every futuristic environment had to be created physically. Massive control panels were built by hand. Alien landscapes were assembled inside sound stages. Every blinking light, every transporter platform, and every starship bridge depended on practical engineering rather than computer graphics. It looked impressive on screen, but behind the scenes it demanded constant maintenance. That also meant even the smallest malfunction could bring everything to a complete stop. A simple lighting failure might require dozens of crew members to pause production while technicians repaired wiring hidden beneath the set. A damaged control panel could interrupt an entire day's filming because replacement parts simply didn't exist. Most props were custom-built specifically for Star Trek, leaving the crew to improvise repairs using whatever materials happened to be available. The cast quickly learned that patience was just as important as acting ability. William Shatner became famous for Captain Kirk's fearless confidence, but between takes he often found himself waiting while production crews fixed unexpected technical problems. Instead of growing impatient, Shatner frequently entertained everyone around him with jokes and humorous conversations. His energetic personality helped keep morale high even during lengthy delays, creating an atmosphere where everyone remained motivated despite the constant setbacks. Leonard Nimoy approached things differently. Known for his calm and thoughtful personality, he often stayed completely in character until the cameras stopped rolling. But even the man behind Spock wasn't immune to unexpected laughter. Fellow cast members later remembered occasions when a forgotten line or accidental mistake caused the entire bridge crew to burst into laughter. Those moments sometimes required several retakes before anyone could regain their composure. Ironically, these interruptions strengthened the friendships that audiences would later see reflected on screen. The famous chemistry between Kirk, Spock, and Dr. McCoy wasn't created solely by talented writing. It developed naturally through years of working together under demanding conditions. Every production delay became another opportunity for conversations, jokes, and shared experiences that eventually translated into believable relationships once filming resumed. Costumes created another surprisingly difficult obstacle. While Star Trek's colorful uniforms looked simple compared to today's elaborate superhero outfits, many alien costumes were incredibly complicated. Hours were spent applying prosthetics, facial appliances, wigs, and detailed makeup before actors could even step in front of the camera. Bright studio lights made those materials even harder to wear, often causing glue to loosen or makeup to deteriorate much faster than expected. When that happened, filming stopped immediately. Makeup artists rushed onto the set carrying brushes, adhesives, and replacement pieces, while directors reorganized shooting schedules to avoid wasting valuable time. Sometimes actors remained perfectly still for long periods while technicians repaired damaged prosthetics. These unexpected interruptions became such a normal part of production that everyone simply accepted them as another challenge of bringing distant alien civilizations to life. Even the smallest props occasionally created enormous headaches. Communicators, tricorders, phasers, and countless futuristic devices had been designed to look decades ahead of contemporary technology. However, behind their futuristic appearance, many contained surprisingly simple mechanical components. Hidden switches jammed, batteries failed, decorative lights refused to turn on. Some devices even broke completely after repeated use during action scenes. The remarkable part wasn't that these failures happened, it was how creatively the crew solved them. Rather than canceling filming whenever equipment malfunctioned, technicians frequently repaired props in minutes using tape, spare electrical parts, household materials, and pure ingenuity. Their ability to invent solutions under pressure became one of Star Trek's greatest behind-the-scenes strengths. Audiences rarely noticed because the finished episodes hid nearly every emergency that occurred during production. Special effects pushed everyone even further. Long before computer-generated imagery transformed Hollywood, Star Trek relied on miniature models, carefully positioned cameras, optical effects, and painstaking editing techniques. Creating the illusion of starships flying through space required incredible precision. One mistake during filming could force the crew to restart an entire visual sequence from the beginning, costing valuable hours. The transporter effect became one of the production's biggest technical achievements, but also one of its greatest challenges. Although audiences watched characters effortlessly beam from one location to another in only a few seconds, producing that illusion required multiple layers of photography combined with carefully timed visual effects. If even one element failed to align correctly, the entire process had to be repeated. Yet despite these difficulties, the transporter eventually became one of the most recognizable visual effects in television history. Lighting departments faced their own impossible mission. The futuristic appearance of the Enterprise depended heavily on colored lights reflecting from metallic surfaces throughout the bridge. Creating the perfect atmosphere demanded careful adjustment of every spotlight and filter. A single misplaced reflection could accidentally reveal cameras, unfinished scenery, or equipment that wasn't supposed to appear on screen. It was a constant balancing act between creativity and limitation. Still, perhaps the biggest surprise wasn't the technical chaos. It was how often accidents actually improved the final product. Unplanned reactions, spontaneous jokes, and genuine moments of laughter occasionally added a sense of realism that carefully rehearsed performances couldn't match. Directors sometimes realized these unexpected moments felt more authentic than the original script and quietly allowed them to remain. Without realizing it, the cast and crew were creating more than a television show. They were building a collection of unforgettable behind-the-scenes stories that fans would continue discussing for generations. And as Star Trek expanded beyond the original Enterprise into entirely new series with larger budgets and more advanced technology, those production disasters didn't disappear. They simply became even more spectacular. As Star Trek continued expanding into new series, many people assumed bigger budgets and better technology would finally eliminate the production problems that plagued the original show. Instead, the opposite happened. Larger sets, more sophisticated visual effects, and increasingly ambitious stories introduced entirely new challenges. The Enterprise may have looked more advanced on screen, but behind the cameras, the cast and crew were still fighting unexpected obstacles almost every day. One of the biggest changes was the growing dependence on visual effects. By the time later Star Trek series entered production, audiences expected larger space battles, more detailed alien worlds, and smoother ship animations. While these improvements made the universe feel grander than ever, they also made filming considerably more complicated. A small change to a scene could trigger days of extra work for visual effects artists, forcing production schedules to shift while entire sequences were rebuilt. Despite these technical demands, the actors continued finding ways to make every performance feel natural. Directors often encouraged the cast to react honestly whenever something unexpected happened during filming. Instead of immediately stopping every take after a minor mistake, they sometimes let the cameras continue rolling. This approach occasionally produced surprisingly authentic moments that couldn't have been planned in advance. A brief smile, an awkward pause, or a spontaneous reaction sometimes added more personality than a perfectly rehearsed performance. These unscripted moments gradually became one of Star Trek's hidden strengths. The friendships developing behind the scenes made the fictional crews feel like genuine families. Whether serving aboard the Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, or other famous Starfleet vessels, the chemistry between performers created an emotional realism that audiences immediately recognized. Viewers weren't simply watching actors deliver dialogue. They were watching people who genuinely trusted and respected one another. Guest performers added another layer of excitement. Throughout the franchise, countless memorable actors stepped into the Star Trek universe, each bringing unique personalities that expanded its already enormous mythology. Some appeared as mysterious visitors, others as dangerous enemies, while many became recurring characters that audiences eagerly anticipated. Every new face introduced fresh energy, allowing each series to feel familiar while constantly evolving. Meanwhile, the costume and makeup departments continued raising the bar. Designing believable alien civilizations required extraordinary imagination. Every forehead ridge, pointed ear, elaborate hairstyle, and carefully painted facial pattern had to fit the history and personality of each fictional species. Creating these appearances wasn't simply about looking impressive. It helped audiences instantly recognize different cultures across the Star Trek universe. But maintaining those appearances proved far more difficult than creating them. Long shooting days under intense studio lighting regularly tested the durability of makeup and prosthetics. Tiny cracks, shifting facial appliances, or loose costume pieces could interrupt filming with little warning. Makeup artists became masters of quick repairs, often restoring complex designs in only a few minutes while the rest of the production prepared for the next scene. Props demanded just as much attention. The communicators, tricorders, medical scanners, and control consoles became symbols of Star Trek's futuristic vision, yet most were built using surprisingly ordinary materials. Existing electronics, modified household items, and creative craftsmanship transformed everyday objects into believable technology from centuries ahead. That remarkable resourcefulness became one of the franchise's defining production achievements. Even more impressive was how closely some of these fictional inventions resembled technology that would eventually exist in real life. Portable communicators anticipated mobile phones. Voice-controlled computer systems echoed today's virtual assistants. Medical scanning devices inspired conversations about future healthcare technology. While Star Trek never claimed to predict the future, its optimistic imagination encouraged generations of engineers and scientists to pursue ideas that once seemed impossible. Behind every groundbreaking invention shown on screen stood countless production decisions that audiences never witnessed. Scripts constantly evolved throughout filming. Writers adjusted dialogue, simplified complicated scenes, and occasionally removed entire storylines to keep episodes moving at the right pace. Sometimes emotional conversations disappeared because of time restrictions. Other times, technical limitations forced creative teams to rewrite scenes altogether. Although viewers only saw the finished product, every episode represented dozens of difficult decisions made behind closed doors. Interestingly, some deleted scenes later became treasured discoveries for longtime fans. Special edition releases and behind-the-scenes documentaries revealed conversations and character moments that had never originally aired. These editions offered fascinating insight into the creative process, showing how different an episode might have been before editors refined the final version. Fans gained a new appreciation for the careful balance between storytelling, pacing, and production realities. Perhaps the greatest lesson Star Trek teaches isn't about futuristic technology at all. It's about creativity under pressure. Every broken prop forced someone to invent a solution. Every delayed scene challenged actors to remain patient. Every unexpected mistake reminded the crew that perfection wasn't always necessary to create something extraordinary. In many cases, the production's greatest successes emerged directly from its biggest problems. That spirit of determination became part of Star Trek's identity. Rather than allowing setbacks to define them, the people behind the franchise treated every obstacle as another puzzle waiting to be solved. Their willingness to adapt, improvise, and support one another transformed countless production disasters into memorable stories that fans still celebrate decades later. Today, conventions, documentaries, and fan discussions continue revisiting these remarkable behind-the-scenes moments. Viewers enjoy discovering hidden bloopers, spotting continuity errors, and learning how impossible filming challenges were overcome with imagination instead of massive budgets. These stories reveal that the real adventure wasn't limited to fictional voyages across the galaxy. It happened every single day on the soundstage. Looking back, it's remarkable that a series built around exploring the unknown also spent so much time overcoming the unexpected in real life. Cameras malfunctioned, props failed, costumes needed emergency repairs, and actors occasionally burst into laughter at the worst possible moments. Yet none of these setbacks stopped Star Trek from becoming one of the most influential science fiction franchises ever created. If anything, those imperfections made it stronger. They remind us that behind every legendary captain, every unforgettable alien world, and every thrilling mission stood a dedicated group of people who refused to give up when things went wrong. Their perseverance, creativity, and sense of humor helped transform production chaos into television history. Decades later, fans still return not only for the adventures among the stars, but also for the incredible stories behind the camera. Those bloopers, accidents, and unexpected triumphs reveal the heart of Star Trek, a franchise built not on perfection, but on imagination, teamwork, and the belief that even the biggest challenges can be overcome with a little ingenuity and a lot of determination. And perhaps that's why these behind-the-scenes stories remain just as entertaining as the episodes themselves.